Yeah, good afternoon for me again. I'm 25 years with Siemens. It's an honor that I got the question to give this presentation here. My private experience with harbors is that I shipped very successfully a container from Germany to China and back in 2006 and 2007. It was very successful. Same thing happens in 2009 and then back in 2013 to South Africa. So I have some experience. Everything worked well, and I'm astonished if I see all the harbors, what's all behind it. Now, what I try to do, as I said, I try to give an impression on what we as Siemens think of what is a smart port and what is possible already today. My question, as I got asked to give this presentation, is as much as ask, okay, what does Siemens has to do with harbors? Over and above my explanation, we found that in 1894 in Rotterdam, there was the first electrification of the cranes. And I think that's, again, very normal today. We have big cranes all over. Now, these cranes are much smaller. I think it's about 13 meters of length here in the arm. And, but it was, at that time, it was really an innovation to have electrical cranes. Now, what do we have today? And that's, I think, already the picture shows the size of the ship. You see the container terminal there. We have today to manage traffic. We have to control the traffic intelligently. We have a lot of safety and security issues today. It's about access control and so on. I'll come to that later a little bit. And energy. So I'm from the Siemens Energy Management Division, so energy efficiency is something we live on, and it's getting more and more important worldwide. It's about the pollution, and it's about usage of our resources. Resources means also environment protection. Now, this is a typical picture, and that has nothing to do with harbors only, but I think in a harbor situation, we have certainly a bottleneck. Somehow, we have to get the goods to the harbor, and we get it back. Now, we have congested roads all over the world, and believe me, I've been standing in traffic jams quite a while in my life already, and this is usually what happens. Now, what we want, and coming back to my private container issue, I want my private container to be delivered to the harbor, and getting on the ship, and as soon as it is arrived in the destination, I want to have it back and not being sitting there in traffic. Now, what can we do? And this is not specifically about harbors, but again, in harbors, it makes most of the sense. Now, the challenge is seriously that the trucks and whoever delivers goods to the harbor, they're just coming. It's depending on the traffic. It depends on the driver's availability and so on. So they come. There might be not a space. The ship might not be ready, or for fetching something, the container might not be ready. So all these challenges you have. So the idea is, and what we have a pilot in Duisburg in the harbor. That we have an intelligent truck guidance system where we collect, on the one hand, the truck data. On the other hand, we collect the data of the harbor, of the port, where we know exactly where a specific container has to be delivered to, where we know if the space is available or no space is available. And depending on all this information, we can guide trucks to a different location, to a parking lot. We can tell the driver, go faster, go slower, go to this specific position or not. And you see, and nowadays it's not a big thing. Everybody has a smartphone. It's an IT-based application. The driver has a smartphone, logs into the system. The data are provided, and the application is then doing the control for the driver and giving advice what to do. Now, this is something that has nothing to do with traffic control. It's an electric-driven freight transport. It's very common in the mining industry just to boost power. Here, what we use here is a truck which has it's a hybrid engine. So it can go with diesel, so they can even pass if there would be some traffic in front of them. But they can use the electrical cables for driving and not polluting. you certainly also control the traffic flow, and in combination with the two, the traffic guidance system and the e-highway, that makes fully sense. Here, what you see here is again the test bed we have in Germany. But there is a project already running in LA. So California is very strict on the environmental protection rules. They want to have 0 emissions. This is exactly an example to have 0 emissions in that area. Certainly you need somewhere a power plant. Now, what we see here, as I said, it's demonstration, it's early stages, but in a few years from now, I think that might be a very common thing, and especially if you have a separated area like in Harbor, and a link with the transportation industry here. The next big issue is protection. And we all know on our private lives on airports and security levels are raised, but there's more to that. That's not only security in a way of prevent intruders. That's much more. And I think we did something for the Port of Miami, which has a complete surveillance access control system and monitoring of whatever happens in the harbor. And the system is a camera-based system with a command and control center attached to it. So what you can do, you can seriously monitor and manage the complete area. And especially in a harbor, that might make complete sense for any harbor in the world to have an integrated system. Now, it's not only, as I said, finding intruders, finding somebody who's in an area he should not be or she should not be. It's also, in case there is an accident, there might be a fire or other accidents, then you need to make sure as a harbor that you can react and respond accordingly. So, and the system is simply helping with the surveillance, and it is integrated in the complete control also of the fire safety. Now, another one coming to fire safety, the tank terminals in New Jersey, and everybody, I guess, has an idea. Tank terminals is a very risky area. So you don't want to be somebody there who should not be in, and you don't want to have accidents or fire. Now, any incident here can be monitored. What you see here is again a camera system. You see these green and blue and red areas. Wherever you see a red area, there's something unusual. So the red area is an alarm. Something happened in that area. You can define what is usual and what is unusual. So as long as this is somehow green or blue, it's usual normal operation. In the moment something is going to red, somebody has to do something or respond to it. Now, the integration of the system is not only telling, okay, there's somebody, you need to do something. The system can start a complete workflow of actions. And that is giving quality, is giving assurance, and it's, in that case, it is very, very important also for obeying to the rules of the state laws. Now, from traffic and truck electrical support via the surveillance and security aspect to the energy efficiency, which is a big thing today. And if you go through Germany, you find a lot of wind parks, you find a lot of solar parks. In the offshore area here north of Hamburg, you find a lot of wind parks out there to produce energy environmental friendly. Now, the production of the energy is one thing, but the overall power generation, the power distribution, the storage of energy, and here is a point. So there's certainly no solar power at night. So what do you do with the solar power? Now, the weather is anyway not good today here in Hamburg, but there's very, very nice days, sunny days. So you need to store it. Also the wind power. And then it comes to energy management. It's not only to have enough energy, and especially in areas where it's very difficult to produce energy, it's even more important to use whatever energy you have very, very efficiently. And I think there's a lot of reserves in there. And then we have something which I come to that later here in Hamburg to be officially started, I think in August, is a shoreside power supply system for ships. But I come for details there. We call it total integrated power for harbors. And it's certainly along the value chain from consulting, planning, engineering, installation, including the services. And what the harbors have as an advantage is certainly higher energy efficiency. You can monitor your energy consumption with that one. There's a lot of metering possible, there's automation possible, there's data collection, which gives you a snapshot and an overview, but also over a certain year or more than a year gives you reports where you can find out, okay, where is my energy consumption going? Do I pay for peak hours? Do I use efficiently low rate hours, and so on? This you can find out. In the moment you know what you are using, in the moment you know where your gaps are, you can manage that. Now, this is a lot of stuff. I don't want to bother you with this one, because this is just showing there is for each and every group of power generation, distribution, storage, and so on, there's a lot of products available already now. There's nothing where we say, okay, we cannot store something or we cannot utilize energy because it's not reliable. It is all there today. And then a big thing, and you're working with that day by day, there's these big ships coming into the harbor. And the harbors is, we saw that in the video, the Hamburg harbor is in the city, it's a city harbor. Now all these nice ships are in there, and what are they doing? They never switch off the engine. I don't know who of you comes from a smaller town or smaller village. I was born near Berlin, so certainly nobody would bother if the car is running or not. There's millions of cars. But as I moved to Bavaria, so then the neighbors will simply come out and will ask you to switch off your car if this car is running. Now, taking a look at the ships here, they're certainly running. They leave the engines running because they have to generate the power. And 90% of the transport and ships account worldwide for the 2% of the CO2 emissions, 15% of the nitrogen oxide emissions, and 6% of the sulfur oxide emissions. That's a lot. And by the way, just a personal remark, it simply stinks, even if you're on the ship. Now, what can we do? And I show you a short video here, which was done here in Hamburg Harbor. As I said, we open in 2 months, I think, officially the power supply. What we do is simply connect the ship to a landline. Normal energy, you plug in your cable. You see here the shore side, that's the transformers. So you have a power supply. We created a power supply on the harbor, and then certainly you need to do something to get it onto the ship. Now we have a partner company. You can see also the videos outside and some demonstration. Here you see that. That's only a robot on handling the cabling and the connection to the ship. You can imagine that's quite heavy stuff. In a ship, that's like a small village or a small town, not a village, a small town. With 3,000 to 4,000 people on that one. 12 megawatt ampere is the overall capacity. I think the AIDA is using about half of it. Now what happens here is you need certainly to adjust the position of the cabling, and then with this robot you position it to where you can unload the cable, and then the connection is made to the ship. Now certainly there is on the ship, there's certainly a need for getting the phases right, finding the right moment to switch off the own generator. But then finally you can switch the generator off, and you can switch your engines off. You can control then all the power consumption. You can operate the ship in a normal state, like you would do engine running, but here you don't run the engine. And I think that's it took a while. I think the team was working here with Hamburg Harbor about 3 years to get it done. Now we had a short side talk here with Peter, who's the next speaker. Very interesting considerations also to make. Certainly today we have no standard in the connections, but it's always, if you have something the first time, there's no standard. Now you can also ask how many ships have a connection. Okay, it's not that many, but it will come. I think it depends on on whoever is in that business to make it happen. And the people in the cities, especially where the harbor is very, very close to the city, and there's beautiful harbors around the world, stopping the pollution in the harbor would be a great deal. But energy efficiency, coming to the business point, is certainly a business reason, and a very, very good business reason to change it. Yeah? Now, and that's certainly a cause for a discussion. Now, we certainly have clean energy, depending where the house's energy was produced on. But again, here, offshore, we have the wind parks. That's clean energy, right? You have a monitoring system inside the harbor. You have another business model as a harbor, because you sell also power, right? And you have the noise and the pollution reduction, which is a big, big, big gain for quality of life. Now, for the ship owners, they have a reliable power supply. They can. It depends a little bit also on maintenance cycles in the ships and so on, whether how big the advantages, how can that be planned in. But as I said, it's an early stage, and I think this is something which has the potential to be much bigger in the future. Now, having said so much about energy efficiency, control systems, surveillance, and so on, coming back to the cranes. Now, there was obviously a crane boom in 1896. I didn't know that before, but obviously these 13 meters cranes were very common. And that one, and you see also the control. There was this man standing. That's the control center of these good old cranes. Now, my colleagues from the industry division, they wanted me to say that it's more than 30% of all harbor cranes worldwide are equipped with our technology, which makes us very, very proud. And I'm sure you are happy with that because it's working day and night, reliable and very efficiently. Now, all the solutions, whatever I touched on, it's all shown and available on videos and presentations outside here, just around the corner on the booth number 4. And please ask also these people there. There's these specialists are there that can answer a lot of questions. And if they find questions they cannot answer, they're keen to find an answer for it. So with this, I thank you very much for your attention and take your questions.